Welcome to another episode of Canada Unpacked, where we unpack real Canadian immigration stories and give you tips and insights. Today is a good one. It's all about BC PNP and OINP in 2025. Very, very hot topics. I'm Barbara, and I'm joined by my co-host, Diandra. How are you today, Diandra?
I'm great because OINP is finally moving.
Finally, yeah, that was like the trigger for us to do this episode. I'm like, there are a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I cannot answer them, but you can. I have like a tiny little tidbit on BCPNP because that's what BCPNP is in 2025. It's tiny.
Yep.
And then you'll really take it away with OINP. And I have so many questions. I think a lot of people, first, some people don't realize there even are provincial programs. And then they don't realize that every province is like kind of significantly different in how they do it, who they're targeting,
Yeah.
who's going to be a good candidate for that particular program. And yeah, there's so much to it. It's not just like, oh, you can't do express entry, just pick a province and go there. It's like, no, you got to kind of do research and see if you are what that province is looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing about PNPs that people don't understand, right? Like every province has those job categories and streams that are essential to their economy, and that's how they pick that's how they pick people to invite, like to give that nomination to. So it's not just pick a province
Yeah.
and
It's
just
like,
go
oh, you
there.
have a job offer? Perfect. Any province will do.
Yay.
It's like, what is that province specifically targeting? And BCPNP is the best example of that in this year. So BCPNP, I love the BCPNP. I like specialized in it for years in my career, and I would say still do, but this year most of the BCPNP programs are closed with the exception of healthcare. So the province, BC, we really need healthcare workers, like not just nurses, not just doctors, any healthcare worker. And that's like very evident when the BCPNP made an announcement stating all the other programs are, like even we had an international student program. They were meant to introduce 3 new streams for international students. All 3 of them are paused. Like we don't even know what they're going to look like. The skilled worker one is basically paused. They said they're going to do 100 invitations. They've already done 94.
Not
Six
much
people
left.
might get invited this year.
Ooh,
Like, okay, so it's basically not working.
yeah.
And entry-level semi-skilled, which was like a huge program. I used to have so many clients under entry-level semi-skilled. It's sort of the tourism driven program in BC because we have lots of resorts and hotels and restaurants. We're very tourism heavy here.
Yeah.
So things like bartenders, servers, housekeepers, hotel front desk, things like that would have a PR pathway, whereas normally those occupations wouldn't lead to permanent residence.
Right.
But that is closed in 2025. So I do have people who are hoping for a 2026 invitation to apply. So we just have to wait and see and wait for another update from the BCPNP. But essentially, we're kind of treating those as paused and only healthcare workers right now. The list is pretty huge. Like I said, like there's nurses, doctors, but it's any healthcare occupation in the NOC code that starts with the number 3. And
Okay.
there's a lot. So it's not like, oh, it's only 10 jobs or something. Like it's quite a variety of healthcare as staff and occupations that are eligible. And my favorite thing about the health authority stream in BC is that there's no point system. There's no invitation to apply you have to wait for. If
Right.
you get a job offer from a health authority in one of those health occupations that are listed, you can immediately apply to the BCPNP. And upon nomination, it leads to a work permit and permanent residency as well for you and your whole family if you'd like to. If you'd like to bring them.
Yeah.
If you're like, yeah, I guess I'll bring my spouse.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, the
guess I'll bring
kids
my
too.
children.
Ugh. Do we need to bring them?
Yeah, I'm like, you don't have to. It's your choice. If you wish, if you have children, you could include them if you desire. But it's just you that needs, because some people are like, oh, my partner also needs. And it's like, no, 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 your partner comes along for the ride. Like it's just one of you needs to qualify and be
Right. Get
accepted.
a job offer. Yeah.
Um, and the one kind of silver lining of the fact that like it's not like no other programs are really happening is we're seeing super fast processing for the health authority, like 2 weeks sometimes.
No way.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
From
you
application
serious?
to nomination by the BCPNP.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. It's
That's
not, it can
insane.
be, it's supposed to be 90 days. That's their like
Yeah.
target. So don't bank on 2 weeks, but I've seen 2 weeks. It's
Wow.
happened. Oh, it
I've
makes sense.
never
Like the
seen that.
officers have nothing else to process.
That's right. All the other programs are on pause. So what else do they have to do but process for this specific program, right?
Mm,
And
that's
you
it.
touched on something earlier that I want to ask you about. So you said that you have clients that are, that were counting on some of the other streams for a nomination this year, but now they're hoping for next year. Like talk about how that plays out, right? Because you don't just kind of give up on the immigration goal because all the streams are paused this year. Like, what are you advising your clients to do, and like your clients in those situations to do? Do we strategize and make sure we're ready for what happens in 2026? Like, what's your advice to your clients in that situation?
Yes. Oh, that's such a good question because I think this is a year of strategy. Even last year, you really need to have a plan A, a plan B, and plan C. Um,
Maybe D as well.
so, and it's so personal, as you know, like it really depends. Some of my clients do have a permit for the next like year and a half. Like they're comfortable with the expiry, but I still want to have a plan B because we do not actually know what it's going to look like. Plus, if you think about it, there might be a mix. I mean, I think there's going to be a mix. There's going to be a mix of people who do have to leave Canada. And so there might be less competition in the BCPNP because some people had to leave.
Yeah.
Or there's just like a compounded effect of all these people who just like, gritted down and are waiting for it. And all of a sudden the pool is like blown up and there's a ton of
Yeah.
competition. Because all the other streams, other than Health Authority, are invitation to apply only. So you are competing with everyone else that's also waiting for one of these invitations.
Yeah.
Um, so we just don't know. So you want to have a plan B. So typically, if someone is looking at a provincial program, it means they've already looked at Express Entry because that's always the first program to look at. And they're just not a fit, whether they're not in a category-based draw, if they don't have the French, or they're maybe a little bit older. And by
Yeah.
older, it's just like above 30. Who isn't above 30?
Right.
Um, none of us. And so Express Entry just ends up not being in the cards for them. But sometimes I'll revisit it. I'm like, okay, like did have a client who looked at the trades occupations that are being prioritized, and they found something, and they're like, I could do that. They're like, I kind of did that before. I have a few years back home doing that. I think I could find a job. And so we actually pivoted this strategy to go Express Entry category based.
Yeah.
Just because we have no idea what's going to happen with the PNP. And then for everyone, I think IRCC did release the stats. So there's 500,000 people in Canada whose work permits will expire in 2025. So in the next
100%.
6 months. So those people, we are looking at extension options, LMIA if they're eligible, LMIA exempt if they're eligible. Some people are leaving, but they're maintaining their profile in the PNP. So you can do that as well. For some of the programs, it is okay to have an active profile from outside Canada as well, as long as you still meet all the other criteria.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then for some people, it's a full pivot maybe to the RCIP program, which we'll have lots of content on soon. I have some previous content on, but so yeah, it's very multi-layered. It's not like hold tight because we don't know what's going to happen. And some people, as you know, are learning French.
Yes, lots of people are learning French, or expanding those French skills, like those basic French skills that they've had just to kind of get a boost in the pool. So
Mhm.
that's been the strategy for a lot of people, like get that French, because as we have seen, the French draws have been dominating Express Entry.
Yeah.
It has been insane the amount of Francophone draws that they've had. It's
Yes. And then the fact that they're going to continue focusing on it for the next 3 years, that it's like,
yes,
okay, you've got time. to learn French,
Yeah.
or improve the French. So it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, the draws are going to end anytime soon.
Hmm.
According to the government, they're going to continue that focus, that promise of um, French focus for the next few years as well. So like any new, like say PGWP holders who've got a 2-3 year PGWP,
Yeah.
that could be a really great strategy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just gonna point that out too, like for those, just like you said, with those clients that are kind of comfortable with where their work permit expiry is at, like they still have another year or 2 years on their work permits or something like that. Like they have the, I don't want to say the luxury because, time really flies, especially when you're focused on your immigration goals. Like you blink and it's a year later and you're looking at the expiry of your work permit. But they have a bit of time to implement a plan B and C and D if possible because they've got that status within the country. And
Hmm.
again, like you said, some people's strategy has been like leave the country and get some more work experience, like get some more
Hmm.
foreign work experience, and that boosts their points as well. So it'll be interesting to see what 2026 looks like on the BCPNP front, as well as all the other provincial programs, because we've had a lot of this pausing in many provinces. So I'm especially excited to see what happens with BCPNP because it has historically been one of the more favorable provincial programs. So to see
Yes,
it,
yeah, yeah. It was like a huge chunk of my work was my BCPNP clients prior.
yeah,
But yeah, more. So the conclusion here, 2025, if you're a healthcare worker, BC is a fantastic option for
yeah.
you. Anyone else, though, re-strategize and look into it again in 2026. You can sign up for BC PNP updates. There's just like a free newsletter, and that way you will be emailed if anything shifts or changes directly from the BC PNP. So I recommend doing that as well. I'm personally signed up, of course. I got to stay up to date. So yeah, that's BCPNP. That's like short, sharp, and shiny. BCPNP, healthcare only. Healthcare, very welcome. Another thing BC is doing, which I think is really nice for healthcare, is because most healthcare professionals, they need to transfer over their license. They can't like
That's
immediately, be a nurse in British Columbia if they were a nurse in the United States.
that's
And
right.
so they have tried to streamline that process, fast track it for candidates as well, and working with people and supporting people through that process. So really fantastic just to see multiple levels all supporting this one goal of boosting our healthcare workers in British Columbia. So great time if you're in healthcare. So tell us about Ontario. Ontario, when you go on the OINP website, there's so
Whoa.
many options. So many options. So break it down a little bit for us and the recent update to what happened and why are people kind of, stimulated by OINP right now?
Right. So OINP, lots has changed. As anybody who has been following OINP this year has seen, there was one draw in January 2025, and then we had crickets up until now.
Hmm.
It has been a roller coaster ride for people that have had OINP as a strategy because, that long period of no draws has been very nerve wracking. And if you compare last year to this year, there was consistent regular draws. So people were counting on this. So the recent update that happened after months and months of no draws, no news, nothing, was that the the quota has been halved, and so they've looked at how to streamline the system. And so the recent update basically states that everybody under the employer job offer streams, so that includes the foreign worker, the international student, and all the employer job offer streams are going to be affected by this. Um, the first thing that is happening is that all of the existing expressions of interest, the EOIs, are going to be automatically withdrawn. And that happened this weekend. And I can tell you that it's happening because I have a client that has an active expression of interest. And I just got the email this morning that his expression of interest was withdrawn. So that happened on Saturday, June 21st and Sunday, June 22nd. That is basically the first step of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
No other expressions of interest were able to be registered as of June 20th. And now what's happening is that basically you can't access the system at all from the 27th to the 29th. It's going to be completely shut down, and they're getting ready to roll out the new employer portal. So
Mm-hmm.
historically, this has had to be done by an electronic form where the employer fills out details of your job duties, confirms that they're eligible to support a foreign worker, all that stuff. And all of that is going to be moved to an online system, which OINP is stating is supposed to streamline the process and shift things from an applicant-led process to an employer-led process. And that's supposed to make things a lot easier. So
Mm.
all the way up until July 2nd, the whole system's going to be shut down. And then on July 2nd, the new employer portal is going to be launched. And again, just like the name suggests, it's going to be employer led. And so if you are somebody that's been affected by this, if you had an active expression of interest in OINP, you are going to want to use these days here between now and July 2nd to talk to your employer and make sure that you have their support. Because, where before you kind of just needed a letter from them and them to fill out this form. Now you need them to like kind of actively get in there, like create the portal, fill in all the information that you need and say, yes, we're trying to keep this person or hire this person. And so you want to use this time to prepare your employer, let them know what it is you need, let them know what's happening with OINP, and make sure that you have their support and that they're ready to create that new portal account on July 2nd and give you the best chance to be one of the front runners in getting your expression of interest re-registered, because that's what happens. So the employer needs to to create the employer portal, fill out your job duties on July 2nd. It's going to open up. And then once they do that, you can re-register your expression of interest. So you'll get a
Mm.
job offer ID once the employer fills out all the information that they need to, and then you can re-register your expression of interest using that offer ID. So
That's I mean that's a lot, and I think a
yeah,
few like really important points there are because people are probably getting this email that, oh, you are no longer
yeah,
accepted and
and they're freaking
panicking.
out.
So knowing that it's okay, it's not you, it's an automatic thing that the system is doing. Everyone is getting the same email.
Yeah,
Don't, immediately panic, but I love that you're like prepare. Like we know no one is going to be able to access it for the next week or so. Take
yeah,
this time to actually prepare. Also, July 2nd, like July 1st is a holiday. You know what I
Canada Day,
mean? Like
exactly.
come on, July 2nd, like the worst day. First of all, I imagine like there'll probably be like glitches because all the government workers will come back after holiday and be like, "Oh yeah, we were supposed to launch that thing today." I'm
But
sure it
let's
won't be
be,
smooth.
but also let's be honest, right? Like I feel like this was a bit strategic because how many people are going to actually fill out this thing on July 2nd? Remember, July 1st
Hmm.
is Canada Day. That's the first week, like the first holiday of the summer for those of us who have kids and everything. School is just closed. Like it's a holiday weekend. Most people take that week off.
Yeah, they might be away with their family, so your employer might be like, "I'll do this when I get
I'll
back."
do this when I get back. So
And it
I don't
has to be
know.
done by the employer. So
It has
you've
to
got
be
no
done.
choice.
And it's not saying you have to do it on July 2nd, but wouldn't you want to be proactive and be one of the first ones to get that profile done, like get that
Hmm.
employer portal set up and everything? So it's nerve-wracking for the candidate for for the person that's like can you please get this done for me on July 2nd? And so just speaking to employers at this point, it's just, I know it's a holiday. I know people are going to be away. You probably already planned your vacation, but your employees are counting on you. Like there's some people that are, have been waiting on that OINP draw that is going to give them their chance, their shot,
Hmm.
for all this time. And just knowing that you have your employer's support is going to be so crucial in this new process. And so I really hope that a lot of employers like have the pre, the kind of the work done ahead of time, because
Hmm.
I'm glad that they gave us this update so early, right? Like the update, I think we got that around June 12th. And so there's been some time to have that conversation with your employer, with your HR
Yeah.
department, whoever's going to deal with this portion of it for you. And so I hope that employers are getting things, getting their ducks in a row to be able to do that as soon as the portal launches for their workers who are waiting on that.
Hmm.
And then for candidates just to be ready as soon as the employer gets that all done, you get that job offer ID, like you're ready to re-register your expression of interest and put yourself back in the pool. And it's
So
notable
it's a
that
two-step process because
yes,
so you still have to redo your expression of interest yourself as a candidate. It's
yeah,
just you can't do it until your employer takes action as well and does their piece. So it's still they didn't get rid of the expression of interest. They just added an extra
added an
step,
extra step.
essentially like verification of the employer's support in a
Yeah,
sense. And
yeah.
do you know, so the employer portal, if say a company or a worker retained like yourself, like a RCIC or a lawyer to help, can RCICs access this? Because some government portals we can, and so we can sort of take over as the authorized representative for them. And so if they are going on vacation, they could just hire someone to do it for
Yeah,
them.
they could, right?
Or will it only be the employer access, like the employer themselves have to access it? Because some portals, all portals are built different within the government.
Yeah, it seems like don't quote me on it, but it seems like the employer has to lead it, obviously with some help, because some of them maybe won't know what information is needed or anything like that. So if you're a candidate and you know that your employer maybe won't know all this information beforehand, if you're working with a consultant or a lawyer, it's totally worth it. If they haven't, I mean, I shudder to think that a consultant wouldn't be on top of this and like get ahead of it,
Mhm.
because that's what I did with the client that I work with. I got ahead of it and I said, "This is what's happening. These are the changes that are coming. Like, please, with your permission, like put me in touch with your HR because I want to make sure that they know exactly what we need from them and when we
Mhm.
need it." So if you're working with a consultant or a lawyer and they haven't contacted you yet, which is, I hope, very highly unlikely, um, it's worth it to contact them and say, you know what, my employer is fully supporting me, but they're not quite sure about this portal. Would you be able to kind of do a walkthrough with them and help them out with getting this done? Um, I know that for on the candidate side, with the old system, we could not do the expression of interest for the candidate, right? Like it
Right.
had to be them doing it and then authorizing us as a representative. So you had access to all the information. So I imagine it might be similar to that. Um, I'll definitely double check to make sure, obviously, but I think that the employer has to lead that portion. And then it just goes from there. Like once that portal has been set up and they've done your job duties and said everything that they need to say about the company, etc., it generates a job ID which they will then give the candidate, and that gives you what you need to do, re-register your expression of interest.
And this is only for the employer supported OINP streams because there's some OINP streams where there's no job offer required, right?
This is specific for the employer job offer streams.
Okay. And which ones are those?
Those are the foreign worker stream, the international student stream, And this is the one that I am not as familiar with. So I always forget this last one. It's the third one.
Was it
Um,
the skilled trades?
yes, I think that's it. I think
And
that
are any of those compatible with Express Entry?
these are non-express entry. These are non-express entry PNP streams.
Got
So I
okay.
think that's why this process has come into play too. And we have to remember that there's been a lot of, how do I put it? Like a lot of glutting, like kind of inflating the pool, with people that didn't actually have their employer support, right? Like they don't have that. They just kind of put an expression of interest there, hoping for the best. And this will kind of weed out those kind of, you know, overinflated
Yes.
profiles.
It'll be a
So
more accurate representation of the actual competition versus
yeah,
because I had a TikTok reach out of someone saying, I'm a PNP nominee, I'm about to get my PR in, but my employer is refusing to support the work permit. And to
exactly.
me, I was just like a giant question mark, like,
Right.
but they supported the PNP, and part of that is supporting the work permit. Like they shouldn't have done one without the other.
Yeah.
Um, and again, every province is different how they do. In BC, there's like several forms they need to fill out and sign, and it'll specifically state like I confirm my support, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But who knows if they read them? Who knows? Like they're like right. They could have just been like fill out the forms, I'll sign whatever, and then not realizing they need to do that. So I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but they shouldn't have done without the other. And if
Yeah.
they're withdrawing their whole PNP support, like the PR isn't going to be approved
It's not,
either. You need to have that PNP support up until you become a permanent resident. And a
that's
piece
right.
of that is the work permit as well that comes
Yeah.
after a nomination. So this actually makes a lot of sense to me that because I saw people reaching out with that kind of thing. So I'm like, this is like reaffirming employer support from the
Yeah.
get-go.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the good things that has come out of this change in process because, with like for example, foreign worker, like the employer job offer foreign worker stream specifically, that employer form where the employer says like these are the job duties, this is how we qualify to be able to support this foreign worker, all that stuff. You don't have to submit that until you get the invitation to apply, right? At
Mhm.
OINP, remember, there's a really narrow window to actually get all your documents in. So you get that invitation to apply, and you have 14 days to submit all of your documents and actually apply. It's not express entry. You don't get that nice, like, cushy 60 days.
Well,
You get,
PNP is 30 for
yeah,
BC.
no, not
So
with this
14
one.
days, 2 weeks, minus the weekends, right? No one's working on a weekend. So
Exactly.
10 days, basically, nine, really. It's like
Yeah.
the day you get invited counts.
Yeah, exactly. You better count it, right? Like you have 14 days to get all of those documents in. And if you didn't really have your employer support, like think about a big construction company where you have to go through layers of red tape or something
Mm.
to get to somebody who actually will fill out this form for you. So if you only have 14 days and you didn't confirm their support before, and now you have to go through layers and layers of bureaucracy to get someone in HR to endorse this form, then you're screwed.
Mhm.
You're pretty much screwed, or you're going to be right down to the wire to get that document in, right? So I think that shift is probably a good thing. Like it's kind of a blessing in disguise because it's gonna narrow that pool of competition down,
Mhm.
and those people that don't really have the backing of their employer will be like they'll be out of there. So
Yeah. Because if you like kind of step back and you go, okay, well, what is the purpose of these provincial programs? It's to support local employers, that a local employer is struggling and they need your particular skill set and
yeah,
experience in their business.
yeah,
Um, and so you're meant to be working there until you become a permanent resident. If you enjoy working there, hopefully you continue as a PR, you can work and live anywhere, but it's meant to be one of those programs to support local employers. So the employers should be on board. They should want you because that's the whole point is that they're like, I need you, I want you, I love you. It's very
exactly.
romantic.
Exactly. It's a love
Um,
story. made in
Yeah.
OINP heaven. So it's a good thing, but I definitely think that uh you're gonna see even those employers that might have been supportive in the beginning with telling them that there's an added administrative burden that
Mhm.
might be the difference between you getting this nomination or not, right? Because I mean, some people are just gonna not want to do it, right? It
Well, and then
sounds like
that'll maybe, like, I don't know, my thought on it, and maybe further weed out, because if they're like, again, it's meant to be companies, local businesses, Canadian businesses that need those workers.
that's right.
And so that means they're struggling with staff, they're posting ads, they can't find people. This
Hmm.
particular worker is excellent and a perfect fit. So, of course, that little bit of admin extra work is nowhere near what it would cost them in both time and money to hire
Fine.
someone and train them up. And so, again, it's just that genuineness of like they genuinely do need this person. And that
Right.
little admin work is totally worth it because for them to find someone, maybe they can't, and even if they did, they'll have to train them. There's onboarding costs and all that stuff. So it should be very much only genuine employer submissions, genuine PNP
Right.
applications.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So I think it's going to be a good shift, and it will mean that for me, my prediction is that we'll see regular draws start up again once they roll out this new process, right?
Mhm.
Like we'll see more consistency with when they release the draws, and we'll see more invitations being extended in for the second half of the year. So I think it's a good thing. Like I think it's a great thing. And for anybody that's been in the pool waiting, like keep your eye on it because I feel like once this starts, we're gonna see that consistency that we were looking for in the top half of the year. And just a reminder that same thing applies, right? Like once you get to re-register that expression of interest, it is active for 12 months.
Mhm. Mhm. Then if you got invited, do they call it invitations to apply in
Mhm.
OINP?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so if
do.
you get that, it's 14 days to submit.
Mhm.
And then what are they saying the processing time? I know some provinces are all over because of what's happened this year, so they're like don't really have a standard, but did they release any kind of standard processing time people can anticipate?
I haven't seen any news about the processing time, but maybe we'll see that after the new employer portal launches. Maybe we'll see some updates about that once
Mhm.
the portal launches on July 2nd, and they actually kind of start moving seriously again. So
Yeah, yeah, like the like the PNP, how like BC PNP always had a standard, but like this year is so different, and they're not really taking people. So the people who do manage to get in there with the healthcare are seeing super fast processing times because the officers don't have anything else to do? Question mark. So I'm like, maybe that's another like motivator to get into the OIMP first. Like there's been months of like not really anything. So the first couple that go through this new system
yeah,
might be really quick because it might be like, oh, we've
yeah.
got nothing else. Like finally work.
Yeah, and remember they're doing all this now digitally, so there's going to be some component of like fast tracking things because you're submitting all that information that would have been on a form before through a digital medium now, and it's
Hmm.
kind of auto processing some of it. And so I think that we might see some of that like that whiz kid kind of 2 week processing for an application. Maybe we'll see it. We can hope
Maybe.
for a
I don't know.
miracle.
I could see that for the first few going in for sure. And then once they get to regular, that's the thing. Once they're in regular processing, then it goes into like, okay, now our standard is whatever,
Yeah,
4 months, 3 months, whatever it is.
yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah.
Exactly.
And hopefully we see, because I don't know, like, let me know what your take is on this. Because I also get, because again, I'm physically in BC, but I've
Yeah,
also like mainly practiced BC PNP. And so like I just focus on them. Like I love it. I know it like the back of my hand. That's what I do. Any OIMP, I refer out to someone who has that same level of knowledge that I do with BC. So
yeah,
I'm West
exactly.
Coast representing today.
Hey.
So with the OINP, some people have been reaching out to me, and again, I just refer out usually to you or
Yeah,
another other colleagues who specialize in different OINP streams.
that's right.
They're like, we've been waiting. They said like they fully submitted like last year, and they've been waiting. So is there still like a backlog of people
There
who
is.
got invited last year and have been waiting for their final decision as well?
Yeah, there's absolutely still a backlog from last year going on. And then remember that they actually did a few draws early in June as well before they announced the changes coming.
Hmm.
Those were all region specific, so it was places like Sudbury, that regional economic development initiative that was kind of scattered around Ontario, where in smaller towns and everything. So those draws were under the employer job offer streams, but region specific. And that all happened at the beginning of June. So those invitations that went out, they would be coming up on the time right now when they should have been submitting. So they'll have the list to process as well as the backlog from 2024.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough for anyone in that kind of backlog
Yeah.
space because you're not actually nominated, so you don't qualify for like a PNP work permit. You've got to look elsewhere for those new work permit options.
Exactly. And then I think what people need to also take into consideration is that not everybody that applies is going to be approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just like we say with every other application that we talk about on this podcast, and even when we just have private conversations, it's so important that people don't let one little mistake jeopardize their opportunity, because it's going to take you a while to get another one, right? So there's a small window here. OINP is only 14 days. There's that
Mm.
really tight window where you have to get all those documents in. And so it's really, really important to go through that document checklist and make sure you have every single thing. Make sure you can back up every single point that you have claimed in that expression of interest, because the quota has been halved. Like
Mm-hmm.
they only have so many spots that they're gonna issue a nomination for. And so you need to make sure that you're one of them by making sure your application is complete and you've given them every single piece of documentation that they need to approve.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true for every program.
Hmm.
And it's more true now just with a competition. Like I feel, maybe 3, 4 years ago plus or something, not counting COVID because COVID kind of had its own its own thing going on. But when we were seeing like every 2 weeks, like clockwork, like you could predict it like a crystal ball fortune teller.
Hmm.
You could predict when the next draws were going to be in express entry and provincial programs. And so there was like a little less stress about it. It's like, like, people might submit and be like, something happens. I'll get another invitation. It's like,
Right.
invitations are so precious in 2025 across every program that has that
Oh, yeah.
system. No, you don't. That is not the attitude to have towards immigration right now. It's very much like this is your
This is
only
your shot.
chance.
Yeah.
Might
It's like
very
that
well be your
golden
only
ticket
chance.
from Willy Wonka, right? Like,
Yes, those golden
it's
tickets, like
very rare.
there's like 7 of them or 6 of them. But yeah, they're so rare. And yeah, and people always have that attitude or just that frame of mind, maybe even in express entry. Express entry has always been that way, where like if any little mistake is there, they'll send it back to you. You got to start again. But
Yeah.
I've had people over my whole career come to me and being like, I really thought they would tell me if something was wrong and I could fix it. I didn't
Yeah.
know they would just be like, nope. And
Just
then like
refuse.
you're
Yeah.
literally kicked out of the pool and you got to start all over again. So that's always been true with express entry. PNP was like slightly, at least in British Columbia,
Yeah.
they were a little bit more lenient. Like I feel like they would, if there was like one thing wrong, they would tell you and give you a window to fix it.
Set.
Not
Yeah.
always, but I found they were a little bit more flexible if we compare it to express entry.
Hmm.
But feel now, no, like absolutely, I would take zero chances ever, like over declare, over document,
Honestly.
triple, quadruple check everything, get professional help if
Hmm.
this is your goal. It's totally worth it, right? If this is your end goal, it's worth it having all that help and support you need.
Yeah.
because it is really your one chance.
Yeah. And again, I always talk about this too. If there's financial constraints keeping you from hiring a professional, guess what? A lot of us offer DIY review services. Barbara does, I do. If you want to tackle it on your own, but you just need that little bit of help at the back end when you've done it to make sure that you have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted, then still contact a professional, because a lot of us offer that service where we'll go over that application with a fine-tooth comb with you and let you know if there's any inconsistencies that we spot, any documents missing, any strategic things that you should have done that you haven't done. Still contact a professional, because it's really too volatile an immigration climate right now to leave
Mm-hmm.
things up to chance, right? Like, you can't be flippant about your application and be like, oh, I'll just go back in the pool and get another invitation. You don't know if or when that's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't want to hire a professional to do the entire process for you, maybe consider a DIY review, right?
Even one consultation can just really open your eyes to many, many things and just make things so much easier for you. So yeah, highly, highly, highly recommend. And if we look at approval rates as well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a bit different, but I saw study permit. So study permit approval rates for a while were sitting at like 50%. It's like
Mm-hmm.
50-50, half-half. That just dropped to 45%.
Yes.
So it's like they are like approval rates are going down for across the board. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, yeah, any application you're doing, my only recommendation ever would be to get professional support, but the level of support is up to you and up to your budget and everything. And yeah, I've been very much focused on the DIY,
Yeah.
and it's been going really, really well. It's been
Yeah.
great meeting so many awesome people who, are like 70 or 80% there, and I can give them tweaks of like, this is exactly how I would submit, and it's going to give you the best chance possible. Of course, no one guarantees approval ever. At the end, the government has their final decision,
Mm-hmm.
but we know what they're looking for. Many programs, you have to go above and beyond the document checklist.
Yeah.
Some programs, the document checklist isn't actually complete. Like, I will know for certainty the government actually wants to see XYZ, and it won't be on that checklist that standard checklist they give the applicant. And I'll go, this is a little rigged almost. I don't want to say rigged, but I'm like, this is it's so hard for a person who doesn't know immigration. Obviously, we studied it or licensed in it to do it themselves completely,
Yeah.
because it's not 100% complete, all the guidance on the government website. Like, there's things missing, and there's literally things missing from the checklist. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it will always be worth it.
Yeah. Missing or vague. Like,
Missing or
that gets
vague.
people, yeah, that gets people a lot of times. Like, they're not sure how to interpret what they're asking you for. And so they
Mm-hmm.
might send in the wrong document or something that doesn't have quite enough information on it because they weren't that clear about what they need to see. And so it really helps having that like professional support. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Oh my God. The vague triggered a memory for me. I had someone came to me after refusal, and they got a request letter during their processing that said, like, we want it was a couple submitting together, and it was like, we want your spouse's employment letter,
Yeah.
proof of their employment. And they were like, wait, who's the spouse? Like, they were like confused. They're like, my spouses or his spouses? So me or like that? And so they thought they were referring to one of them, and
Yeah.
that's what they submitted, but they were referring to the other person. And I'm like, that is super vague. Because I'm like, the letter should have said, we want, Joanna's blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Not like, we want your spouse. And they're like,
Right.
who is that?
Which one of us?
We
Yeah.
are each other's spouse. What do
Right.
you mean? And I'm like,
Can
that
you
was
put the
such a
name up there?
so valid. But it got refused on that ground. They're like, oh no, that's not who we were talking about. We wanted the other person's. And it's like, so it was just a confusing thing. But a consultant would be able to see that and be like, you know what? It makes sense where they want this person's, because that is who you have to actually prove for this type of application you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Or worst case, you give them everything, right? It's over
Exactly.
declare is
Yeah.
safer than under declaring as well. So yeah, that was a really, really upsetting refusal, which we were able to restore back to the appropriate status afterwards. But again, they DIY'd, they interpreted the best they could.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that did lead to a refusal, and it's that vagueness. Your spouse. It's like, what? We're both the spouse.
Right. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense, please.
I'm begging you so you don't refuse my application.
Yeah, help me help you.
Exactly. But yeah, that is really, really important, especially with all these changes that are rolling out with OINP, with the pause in BCPNP and kind of like those quotas being cut so much. Like it's so crucial to just get it right the first time.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know if you'll get a second or a third time, right?
Yeah. And so the OINP, so that was like all the the latest updates. So that's where the latest like buzz is happening. But the
Yeah.
OINP does have those express entry compatible streams as well. Like I know human capital is like a really well-known one. Are we still seeing any movement in those? Like are people getting I know a job offer isn't always necessary with it, so this new stream won't apply to those. But should people still be hopeful they might be able to go through something like that, like the human capital OINP?
You know what? I kind of have a wait and see sort of mindset on that because we haven't seen a lot of it. We haven't seen a lot of movement in those streams. And so I am just kind of keeping my eye on the updates page. I'm just like, what's going on
Yeah.
there? What's happening? Hello. So I'm keeping my eye out on there. I'm not sure if we'll see movement there. It really does seem like they're prioritizing the job offer
Job offer.
streams,
Hmm.
but we'll see what happens. Like we'll probably have another episode when we have a better idea of what's going to happen in that second half of the year this
Hmm.
year for
Hmm.
OINP. And I think everything is going to kind of fall into place once these changes affecting the job offer streams have rolled out. I
Yeah.
think we'll see what happens in terms of draws and how they're distributed. Um, but you can kind of see from that that they're prioritizing the people that are already here, right? Like
Yes.
that
Oh,
you're
yes.
here and have a job offer, right?
Which they said they're gonna do. Doing what they said. Good job.
Yeah, it's falling into place in line with, what the federal government has said, what provincial governments have been saying for a while. It's all falling into line with what they've been saying they're going to prioritize for a
Hmm.
while now. So
Hmm.
we'll see if there's any movement. But stay tuned to Canada Unpacked because we'll keep you abreast of what's going on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in summary, if you are in the OIMP and you got an email kicking you out, breathe.
Yeah, that's
Everyone
okay.
got the same email. If you're like confused and panicking, you need support, I would go to Diandra for anything OINP related, like book a strategy consultation and just figure things out, right? Because in addition to clarifying everything OINP related, maybe you have an alternate strategy, plan B, plan C, etc., to plan about. And
Yeah,
also, it's just getting, it's kind of like nudging and helping the employer as well when someone has a representative on board to just guide them through it because this is brand new. It's going to be the first time anyone's ever done it. Of course,
yeah,
there's going to be questions. I'm
yeah.
saying it right now. I'm sure there's going to be portal glitches. There's always portal glitches when the
100%.
government makes a new one.
Every
Always.
single time. Every time.
And yeah, and if your employer is like going on holiday, like, is there someone else? Is there an HR? Is there a manager who can kind of take over this July 2nd situation? Or even
Exactly.
July 3rd would be good. And get ready because yeah, it's about to go down in OINP.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of glad I'm not over there. And for me, I'm like, if you work in healthcare and you help people get better when they're sick, come to BC.
I'm your girl.
I love BC PNP Health Authority. It's great. I also love like great healthcare professionals. Like I just changed doctors. Like my doctor left, and so or moved away. So I changed doctors. I loved my doctor who left, and I was so upset.
Yeah.
She didn't left. She moved. She was still in BC, but she moved. So I was so sad. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll get a new doctor. And then my new doctor is like equally amazing. I'm like, oh my God, I've just been blessed. Like, I
That
love my
rarely
doctor.
happens. That rarely happens, especially with something like a healthcare professional. And I think that's one of the reasons they're doing that, that fast track program that helps you get your licensing here and everything. Like, because you want the quality ones, the ones that are like,
Yes,
you want the great ones to be able
the
to
great
like
ones.
stay here.
And you
So,
don't want them burnt out as well. I think we're still feeling that COVID burnout as well, where a lot of
oh yeah,
professionals left the industry. A lot of them are maybe stuck in it because, that's their career, that's their professional life, that's how they pay the bills, but they are
yeah,
absolutely burnt out. They're not mentally there anymore
yeah.
and some of them it's a volume thing, right? Some of them are just like absolutely jam-packed with patients. Like it's not possible to give that level of care when you have
And you
so
have
much
so
going
many.
on, so much demand
Yeah,
on you as well. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think they're just trying to bridge that gap, that bit of a burnout gap. People retiring as well. We have a big baby boomer population in Canada, so people retiring in the next, currently in the next 5 to 10 years as well, which is a different topic for a different episode. But I know people are always like, I don't know, I get a lot of like, Canada's closed, like, stop
Yeah.
helping people come here. And I'm like, okay, just like, I don't know, read a little bit, like, please. Like, there's so many levels to why we need people, like certain
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
certain professionals. And a big thing is our aging population. Like, we are not making babies the same rate that we used to. And so
Right.
we're having a ton of retirees moving out of certain industries in the next 5 to 10 years, and we don't have enough humans to replace
Enough
them.
people to
So
replace them. Yeah.
yeah,
And
just like read like a tiny bit, please.
that's heavily evident in places like for East Coast PNP, right? Another area that I work in. East Coast, I lived there for years and you could just see it, right? And the heavy brain drain too. Like a lot of us go out there and do like complete our schooling, but then we leave and come to places like Ontario and BC. So we still
Like
have that.
literally you.
Yeah, literally me.
You're
I
like,
did.
sorry, that was me.
I know, I'm sorry. But that's why I'm trying to help people to immigrate to the East Coast because I want to see them win. I want to see them win. I left, but that was for reasons completely unrelated. Um, but yeah, there's quite a big aging population out in the East Coast, and they need people too, which is why they have things
hmm
like the Atlantic Immigration Program, which
hmm
is why the PNP programs are so favorable. Like for example, New Brunswick PNP, where express entry your points get lowered as you age. New Brunswick PNP is good until you're like 55, like up to 50.
Damn.
I'm like, all right,
54-year-olds move to
we're
New
all good.
Brunswick.
You're not losing anything by being older, right? And where in express entry it kind of punishes you for for being older and more experienced. Like a PNP program would be more favorable to somebody that's in their like late 40s, early 50s kind of thing.
Yes,
So,
more experienced. You totally
yeah,
hit it. It's like, well, you're more experienced, so that's what like a Canadian business wants. It doesn't want a
exactly.
20-year-old who's never done anything before. Just
Exactly.
sorry, 20-year-olds. That used to be me, so I know.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But if
So,
someone's like, oh my God, I've been in this industry for 15 years and I've worked in 3 different companies and I have all this knowledge and I can like, bring that expertise and I have ideas for efficiency, like, woo,
yeah,
like that. Oh, yes, please.
and I can
Hello, come
also
on
train
in.
the next generation, right?
Yeah,
Like I
check,
can
check,
so
check.
help train the next generation. Like if
Yes,
you look at
knowledge
it,
sharing.
if you're like 54, 55, you've still got another at least decade in the workforce. And
hmm
that makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
So, um, here's hoping that express entry loosens that kind of like those reins a little bit with the age points. But if you're over 47 or over 40 something and express and trying to immigrate, look at PNP programs.
PMPs. Yeah. My husband and I to this day have not gone on a honeymoon. And like
But
last
I
night
like
I was
that.
like looking at things. I don't know why. I just like can't think of anything. We're like not as creative, I guess, or something. And I looked at PEI. If you just
Beautiful.
Google PEI, I was like, damn, PEI is nice. Like it's so cute. It's breathtaking. Like it's like the landscape. I was like, should we go to
Yep.
PEI for our honeymoon? Like
Um,
it's
you
so
should.
pretty.
You should. I've been to PEI and I've experienced some of it. We went lobster trapping,
I,
like we were on the
I had
ocean.
lobster in my head. Yeah.
We played spoons on the dock with the boat captains. It was amazing. The people were friendly and just genuinely nice people. Like when
Mhm.
somebody's just genuinely deep down kind and
Yeah, you can
they
feel
just
it.
like everybody. Yeah, you can feel it. It was so welcoming. And the best part of the trip, I had it for the first time, tri-tip. If you've never heard of tri-tip, it is the most succulent piece of beef you will ever have in your life. And I had it at Chef Michael Smith's. You might know him from if you're a Food Network fan like me. I
Chef
am all over
Michael
that.
Smith.
I'm a foodie. I love watching my cooking shows. And Chef Michael Smith has a B&B there and restaurant. It's all farm to table stuff. And the food was delicious. The view was amazing. We had a champagne toast out on the lawn. You could see the ocean right over. So if you're looking at PEI for your honeymoon, good choice.
I think you just sold me. I love a B&B, like a classic B&B. I love waking up on vacation and not having to worry about like where am I going to get breakfast? Like I want to
Exactly.
just roll out of bed and have breakfast.
Yeah. In a nice homey environment where you feel welcome and comfortable. It was great. Like it was just beautiful. The rooms were it felt like I was in like a lakeside cottage or something
Hmm.
like that. Like just the cool breeze from the water was flowing through the windows and the curtains were swaying. It was great. It was everything. And I loved
Everything.
it.
Everything and more. It's like five-star luxury
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yep. It was great. And that wasn't even where we were staying. We weren't staying at that B&B. We were staying at another one. It was for a work retreat I went. And
Hmm.
we stayed at this place. I promise you, the best lobster roll I have ever had in my life. It was like I
It's so
I'm from the Bahamas.
fresh.
Yes, I'm from the Bahamas. I'm a seafood girly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know good seafood. And this lobster roll was the perfect, like not too much mayo. It was nice and tangy from the lime. Like it
Hmm.
had the right amount of celery. Can you tell I'm a foodie too? Like this is what I mean.
No, I couldn't tell.
The best lobster roll I've had in my life. So I'll dig up the names of those places for you just in case you want to plan a honeymoon. I'll give you the all the details and the recommendations.
I would love that because yeah, it looks the whole east coast of Canada. It looks I mean, I'm obviously a west coast diehard, but like the whole east coast, I'm like it looks really nice. Like it's like it's on it. Yeah, it looks so nice. Like it's just it's beautiful. It's like the tropical version of Canada. Like I know it's not hot, but like it's just like beautiful and calm and peaceful.
Just gorgeous. Like I lived in Nova Scotia. Like I was um I was just thinking about this. I'll preface this by saying I'm deathly terrified of heights. But one of the first things they did with us when I started school, they took us on like a tour of the valley we were in. And we went to this place called the Look Off in Nova Scotia, like in the Annapolis Valley. And you literally drive up and up and up and up some more. And I was terrified because I'm like, why? Like, how come there's no guardrails and we're just
Mm.
driving around this cliff? And we finally got to the top. There's this beautiful little creamery, like you can get fresh ice cream and all that stuff. And then you look over the next way and you can see a bird's eye view of the entire valley. And it was
Wow.
awe-inspiring. Like you could see all the like nice little neat rows from the farms there. You could see like the university like way off in the distance. It was gorgeous. Like there's so much to see. You got the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, like highest tides in the world, right?
Mm.
That's something like everybody should see once in their life. It's insane. Like when the tide goes out, it's literally like barren wasteland all the way out. And then you see the tide come in and it's like insanely high. And I'm like, whoa, how does this even happen? It's
Yeah.
crazy. You have to see it.
Is
Definitely.
there, this might be like the silliest question, and I could probably Google it. I could definitely Google it, but can you surf on the East Coast?
That's a good
It
question.
might be dangerous,
I feel like it might be a little dangerous.
a little
I've never
spooky.
seen anybody surf. I've never heard of anybody surfing, but
I'll be the
I mean,
first one.
anything's possible, I guess. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe those cliffs.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think so.
It's probably so cold too.
It's cold. It's
Cold, cold,
cold.
cold.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I
wet
was in the
to
science
the surf.
program, but there's so many diverse ecosystems out there too, right? Like I wasn't in the science program. I had a friend who was, and they went on a field trip to the mud flats,
Hmm.
and there's so much like life
Hmm.
places that you just look at and you're like, oh, gross, look at all that mud. But it's an
There's a lot
insanely
going
diverse
on.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Healthy, healthy ecosystems.
Hmm. It's beautiful out there. Any one of the maritime provinces, I would totally recommend for a honeymoon destination.
I love that.
Hmm.
And if you want to immigrate there, Diandra. Diandra is
Oh,
OINP, but also all East Coast because
East
you
Coast
you've lived there,
PNP.
you've lived it as well. Like you've lived the immigration journey as we have
Yeah.
in one of our episodes.
Yeah.
And yeah, all that East Coast immigration, I send everyone to you because you're there and you know it. And like we said at the beginning, every province has their own program, their own criteria, their own little nuances, their own process. It's not one size fits all. It's
That's
being
right.
a good fit for that particular location. So,
Exactly.
yeah, go to Deandra for anything East Coast. And that was a long-winded episode with a lot about partial honeymoon planning at the end. And but that was so great. I learned a lot. Thank you, Deandra, for enlightening us with the updates. I'm sure there's a ton of panic out there. Um, and that was so great. And so yeah, join us on the next episode. We'll see you there. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for unpacking Canada with us. Next time.
Next time. Bye.